veces ya están café. And if this only two, the student need to attend every Friday because Monday, because Friday
Hi, everybody. We're going to get started in just a couple of moments. Just wanted to welcome you all as we wait for everybody to come in. Just give you that quick update. Hi, everyone. We're just about to get started. We are just working through a couple of setup items for our room here. So if you just bear with us for a moment.
You should be able to start your videos now.
All right, I think should be able to let everybody unmute themselves now. Let me know if you're having issues with unmuting yourself. Let's see, I think everybody can do that. Okay. Yep, okay, good. It looks like that's gonna work. Okay, great. So finally, we can get started. I thank you for your patience as we work out some of our first virtual youth conference, wrinkles that we have to iron out. So I'll introduce myself quickly. I am Jonathan Judge. I am co-chair of the Youth Services Committee for Brooklyn Community Board 14. I've been co-chair since 2011, so it's been a long time. I have a long history with this youth conference, and I'm glad to welcome you all to our first session of our 14th annual youth conference. First time we're doing it virtually because of the pandemic, but we expect it to be just as rewarding, if not more so, as part of these panels today. So I'm very excited to invite you to today's panel on Ready for It, Job Preparedness, Training, and Opportunities. What we're gonna do is we're gonna give our panelists a chance to introduce themselves for a couple of minutes. And then we're gonna do a combination of questions, maybe questions that I'll think of to ask. And if you have questions, because this is about you, our attendees, our high school students, our teens, our young adults, if you have questions that you would like to ask of our panelists, go ahead and find the Q&A section of the Zoom meeting and go ahead and write your questions there. And then I'll go through them and we'll answer as many as we can during our 45-minute allotment. And hopefully we'll be able to answer as many of your pointed questions that come to mind as part of our conversation. So I'm going to just introduce quickly the organizations we have present with us. We have the Midwood branch of the Brooklyn Public Library, Lynette Ford. We have, hi Lynette. We have the Kingsborough Community College Job Corps Scholars Program. We have Brooklyn Job Corps, and we have Project SAFE through NYU Langone. And I believe we also have Medgar Evers College here, although I'm not sure if I see them just yet in our panelist list. But we'll be working on that if they're having a little technical difficulty. So I'd like to just kick things off. Again, just give a quick introduction about who you are, what your organization or your business does, and sort of what are the opportunities that your organization or agency can offer our attendees between the ages of 14 and 21. I loved your video, Lynette, so I just feel inclined to ask you to go first if you're willing to do that. And we'll take it from there.
Okay, is everyone able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to drop a link into the chat here for everyone. I do have a handout with the links and emails for everything I'm about to mention. So hello, everyone. My name is Lynette Ford. I'm a librarian at the Midwood branch of Brooklyn Public Library. We're on East 16th and Avenue J. And I just wanted to come here today to talk to you about 2 of our paid internship opportunities. We have a technology internship that we're currently recruiting for ages 14 through 18. It is called Today's Deans, Tomorrow's Techies, or the T4 program. And if you're interested in technology or working with the public, we encourage you to apply. Basically what it is that this summer, you'll be able to attend a 2-week technology workshop, everything from Adobe Photoshop, Dreamweaver, Java programming, 3D printing, a lot of interesting things. And in the fall, you will be volunteering or working up to 3 hours a week at one of our local branches, such as Midwood, or at our central library. And at the completion of the program, you get not only community service hours for your volunteer time at the branch, but you also receive a stipend. I believe it's about $1,000. Don't quote me on that, but you can reach out to our coordinator of that program, Jackson Gomez, via the email on the handout or jgomez@bkly.
I think we may
Learning about the career and learning about what we do on a day-to-day basis, learning to develop programs, welcome people into the library, all of that. And at the completion of that, you also get quite a fair amount of community service hours as well as a stipend. I believe that one is about 1,200. Again, feel free to reach out to our coordinator for more information. And I also just wanted to mention that for those of you who are looking to either go to college or looking to just get your career started right away, we have a lot of resources through our Business and Career Center. They're located at the Central Library at Grand Army Plaza, but you can access their resources basically from anywhere with a library card or at any of our branch libraries. We have some guides online that have college resources. We have guides with resume templates and cover letter templates that you can use to get your materials ready. And we also offer one-on-one resume and career help sessions. If you go to our events calendar, you can search. I actually do some myself on Fridays, usually between 9 and 11, but I also do them one-off as people ask. So we really have a lot of nice resources for those of you looking to get your career started. And the Business and Career Center also offers something called Bpl College Connect. That is a one-on-one session with one of our librarians, and they will help guide you through the college admission process, exploring how to complete your CUNY or SUNY applications, finding the right program for you, and kind of walking you through how to apply for financial aid. So feel free to check that out as well on our website. And I'm happy to say a number of our branches are reopening. If you live in the CB14 area, the Flatbush, Midwood, and Kings Highway branches now allow you to walk in and browse for materials. And you can also come and talk to myself and the other librarians at the branches, and we can help get you connected with whatever resources you need.
Thank you so much, Lynette. We really appreciate you sharing that with us. And those sound like really exciting opportunities. I'm sure we'll get a couple of questions about them as we go. I'm going to go ahead and switch to Brooklyn Job Corps. I believe we have Renee Bracey with us today. Is that correct? I'm not sure if she... there you go. And if you need me to unmute you, then I think I just did that. So let me know if that works. Cool. So yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about, so you're with Kingsborough Community College Job Corps, or are you Brooklyn Job Corps? Are you both?
I'm with the Brooklyn Job Corps. We are separate, the separate entities, yes.
Okay, so yeah, so go ahead and tell us, I guess we start with Brooklyn, then we could go to the Kingsborough one. So go ahead and tell us about what you can offer through Brooklyn Job Corps for our 14 to 21-year-old young people in our community.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Judge. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Renee Bracey, and I'm the Work-Based Learning Coordinator at the Brooklyn Job Corps Center. I'm also the Business Community Liaison. So yes, I have many hats, many shoes to be worn here. Having said that, let me just give you a quick view into what Brooklyn Job Corps Center offers. We are located at 585 Bpl Avenue in the heart of Bedford-Stuyvesant, where we provide students, or should I say just individuals, who are looking to complete a trade, or they're interested in a trade such as culinary, such as security, CMA, and lucky for us, we receive IT back as well. We provide those trades to students who are interested in those fields. In addition to that, we also provide a high school diploma through Penn Foster or GED for those who are seeking to get the high school equivalent. In addition to that, we do have support groups. We have health and wellness here, because we do know at this point in time, students are definitely in need of someone to talk to. So we do provide that support to our students. Not only are we open to individuals who are ranging from the ages of 17 to 24, we also provide these support services to veterans as well. So if you know any veterans out there that may be interested in taking one of our trades, by all means, direct them to our website, booking.org. Let me also point out the fact that we are very much engaged with a lot of corporations out here who provide us the opportunity, provide our students the opportunity to get hands-on experience in their field of study. And hopefully, once the student has completed that 6-week, I would say, internship or apprenticeship, basically, these students may have the chance to be employed by those corporations or companies. So again, if you are looking or you know someone that's interested in the trades such as culinary, CNA, security, and IT, by all means, direct them to our website, which is booking.org. Okay, thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it.
We appreciate your time too. Thank you very much, Renee. I see we have NYU Langone, Project SAFE. So let me turn it over to them to do their intro. And if you need me to unmute you, I think I have to do that. I'm just not used to doing this in webinars. So let me see which one. I'm gonna see if this is the one I'm supposed to unmute. Well, we'll ask all of them to unmute. We'll figure it out.
Indeed. That was the right button. How art thou? Hope everybody's feeling like a trillion gazillion bucks. First of all, let's all give a shout out for the 84 degrees that we finally hive. Listen, when they say won't he do it? Yes, he will. Yes, he will. First and foremost, I am super happy and elated to be here with you all. Just to drop some gems, just a little razzle dazzle, just a little sprinkle of light. My name is Panama, just like the country and or the canal. I am one of the health educators and the clinic guy here at Project Safe Youth, which is basically a teen empowerment program for young people. We train up young people in areas that will help them, that they can give back to their community through advocacy, through peer workshops around HIV and sexual reproductive health, on top of just leadership skills and readiness for the world. Our young people come to our program. They join one of our either clubs or one of our groups, as we call it. And then sometimes we do things such as this to kind of even come back and speak back to people to let them know about all the different things that we're doing. They get a little bit of stipend, a little bit of money every now and again, just to sprinkle their pockets. And they get to see my ugly mug every day. So if it sounds like something that you want to do or interested in doing, yeah, listen, you can hit us up. I'll put our website in the chat, and yeah, let us know. I didn't mean to be too quick, but the bubbles is here.
Don't worry about it. We're going to make sure we get you some good questions to answer. We'll go around. So we won't be the last we're hearing from you, I'm sure. So are there any other panelists? Because I know sometimes people hit the wrong link and they're an attendee. If anyone is supposed to be a panelist and needs to be promoted, just feel free to hit us up in the chat in case we're missing somebody. But with that said, I do have a question for our panelists. And maybe you could just answer this one quickly. For the opportunities that you offer, how would you know if you're the right kind of person for those opportunities? I know some of you offer opportunities that are pretty broad in terms of they run across different industries, and some of them may be very specific. Well, if I'm a 15, 16-year-old and I'm thinking about applying for any of these opportunities, or I'm an early college student, like how would I know if I might be a really good fit? Like what are the things that I might be interested in, or what are the skills that maybe I know I have that would be a good indicator that I should pursue these opportunities? I'm sort of inclined to go to Lynette from the Public Library, because you mentioned a lot of tech opportunities, and I think that's a hot issue, obviously.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you apply for one of our opportunities, we want people who are very curious and open to learning new things. Someone who is willing to work in a team, someone who is willing to be welcoming to the general public. You don't necessarily have to be super outgoing, but you will be interacting with people, helping them troubleshoot tech problems, or just welcoming them to the library and kind of explaining what we do here. So yeah, just someone who is willing to learn, and someone who is going to be very enthusiastic about meeting all kinds of different people.
Cool. What about you, Renee? I know you offer a lot of opportunities across a variety of dimensions, but for some of the hot ones, you know, the industries where there's a lot of openings, or there might be a clear path for a lot of opportunities, is there any sort of like skills or preferences that might help our attendees find out if they're like, oh yeah, I really should apply for this, even though I've never done that before, because I like this, or I'm really good at that?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. We can't
Okay,
see you.
I'm juggling so much on my desk right now. I do apologize. I would say that your best set of skills are your transferable and your core skills. They will definitely get you in the door to any enterprise. And we all know what that is. We all know that you have to be able to adapt. We all know that you have to be attentive. We also know that you have to be inclusive, because you are working with a diverse group. Wherever you are going, you're working with a diverse group. So naturally, I would say that your core skills would definitely be the key factor in getting you in the door. Yes, of course, they need to know that you're trained in that area, but if you can also bring the core skills, you can bring those core skills and you can satisfy them with it, I guarantee you, you will not only just have a job for a day or a month or a year, you will continue in that particular company.
Thank you for sharing that, Renee. So Panama, I mean, look, you got all this energy, enthusiasm, people want to be outside, and I'm totally with you on that. If any of our attendees are watching from their phone out in a park, all the more power to you all for doing that. But I got to ask, because you said you provide services in addition to like sexual health education, but you provide services that also help young people figure out and get organized to get their start. So tell us a little bit about how you might help them figure out what they might be good at, what they might want to learn and grow to become better at, and maybe look at as career or educational opportunities going forward for the things that really suit them.
Oh, there you go. There it is. So it's so interesting because we do these things called all group days, right? Where all of our participants are a part of these. We've had to transition them to virtual. So normally we would have broken them down into separate groups if we were in a regular situation. But now that we have these all group days, we have these kind of group workshops that we do together, right? And one of the things that we do is we offer something called Bag Talk. And so what Bag Talk is we bring different professionals from different walks of life, right? Different things, different people that they would not normally have access to come and just speak to them about not only career, but the reality of what it took them to get to that particular space, right? We had someone come in last month from NASA. And then we had also another engineer kind of come in. So right before the rocket launched, they did a rocket, not the one that fell down, not that one. I can't take claim for that one, but there was another rocket that she had launched on a Thursday. Somebody from their team that we had connected with, came and spoke to our young people about what her trajectory was on how she was able to even get into that space. This also gave, because we create safe spaces and we talk to our young people very similar to how we talk to our family and our friends, right? It's a very, it's an extreme safe space that makes them feel comfortable to ask the questions that they want to ask. We've had people come from complex media. We've had people come from different people that worked within sustainability and energy and engineers, right? And so a lot of that also came from being mindful of connecting them to people that look like them as well. So representation was really, really big. So then the narrative that was being given to them was something that they could identify with, because it's somebody that either came from where they came from or understands what they understand, right? And so with that, we try to kind of incorporate different skill building things on top of exposures, so then they can kind of figure out what their niche is, right? And then when we're broken up into our subgroups, they take some of those skills to kind of apply them to different projects that we may be working on, right? I.e., we'll use this one as an example, right? Like training up our young people to be able to advocate and speak to what it is that we're doing is some of the things that we try to kind of work on, right? Because our biggest thing is, especially if we're seeing young people from the ages of 14 to 18, the biggest thing is exposures and pushing you into in areas that you didn't think that existed, right? Because I'm 14, I'm 15. I don't know what I'm good at, right? I don't know what it is that I'm great at, for that matter. So what we do is we try to do a bunch of different things to give them the skills and see what works and see what doesn't work. No, you're not a public speaker, but you know how to do it if that time ever comes, right? No, I'm not the most organized, but I'm going to give you the systems that you need in order to make you more organized if you need it, right? So those are just some of the minor things that we've just incorporated within our program as a whole. It's also steeped within all of the people who facilitate, right? We're always constantly pushing and challenging our young people to just keep going and once again try everything. So yeah. We good.
That sounds really awesome. I have a couple of questions from the audience I want to get in while we're at it. They are for you, Lynette. So two questions. One is because there was a little bit of a glitch, I think, with the audio for a moment about the stipend internship. Could you just quickly summarize what that looks like? And also, could someone who is a 20-year-old apply for it if you take college students, or what the age range would be for that? And I'll unmute you again. And I think that should work.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry about that. So the age range, I believe, is only 14 through 18 at this time. If you are in college, we do sometimes have other internships for college students on a rolling basis. I would recommend going to the Brooklyn Public Library website and looking at our career section and just seeing if anything fits what you're looking for and your qualifications. And in terms of the internships, so the one we're recruiting for right now, the D4 internship, Today's Deans, Tomorrow's Techies, I can drop the link again. It's basically, you begin this summer with a 2-week block of workshops that are technology related. And then once those are completed, they'll work with your schedule to have you work at one of our branches, and you can put in your top choices of branches in the fall, and you would work about 3 hours per week over the following 6 months. And again, we would work with your schedule to make sure that you have the time to complete everything. And then once you've successfully completed the internship, you will get a stipend.
That sounds like a really very cool opportunity. And speaking of it, and I think this will be a question for all of our panelists here. Some of the people who are watching right now may be like, well, I don't know, that sounds like a really impressive opportunity. I'm just a student. I haven't had a job before. I don't know what to put on my resume. So, especially for these opportunities that are suitable for, late teens, early 20s, If you don't have work experience, like what would you, as people involved in the process of hiring, what is it that you'd be looking for if someone doesn't know what they should put on their resume because they haven't had a job before, if they're a first time employee? Anyone who's got any advice, feel free to open up. I'll try to now unmute everybody in advance. Let's see if that'll work better. I don't know if Renee, if you have any opinions, since I'm sure you see a lot of resumes coming in.
Yes, I do. In fact, I wanted to share that with my students tomorrow, who these new students that are coming in, but I'm going to share it today with these students. Actually, I think what you want to do is engage in as many organizations as you possibly can when it comes down to being a high school student. You want to have that on your resume as well, because those organizations can be beneficial in terms of perhaps finding work as well. So this is what you want to do. You want to put down the organizations. You want to put down what are your hobbies as well. Make sure that your hobbies, of course, are linked to perhaps the field itself. You don't want to put down, I'm crazy about watching what is it, Chicago Fire or something like that. You don't want to put down those kind of things. You want to make sure that at least it links to your area of interest. So I would say join as many organizations as you possibly can. Even if you're not a person who I would say that looks to probably have like a 4.0 average, there are other special skills that you can learn. So again, we're going back to core skills. You want to put that down as well.
That's very useful and very good information, especially mentioning about like GPA. I think I could think back to when I was in school, which is now each year it becomes further and further away. I don't know if anyone else can relate, hopefully not, but where, you're obsessed with your overall GPA, you're like, oh, if it's not high enough, like no one will hire me, no one will let me go to college or something like that, and you're always worried about getting the right grade. But I don't know if, especially in like the tech space, I think this is a good example. When it comes to technology, sometimes certain skills and the fact that you might get a really high grade in one subject but do terribly in another might just be reflective that you would be very suitable for a particular role, and that you should see it as an opportunity where you might excel, versus where, I didn't score so high in art this year and that lowered my GPA and I should be worried about it. I don't know if any of you have any advice in that regard for how you should understand your own academic performance and how that might make you more suitable for certain kinds of work and help you identify that faster. I'll open that question up. Try to unmute everybody.
I mean, it really depends. If you have a high GPA, it can be an asset. It shows, that you've been responsible with studying. But even if you're not at the top of your class, people also want to see that you've been involved in your community. I tell people, even if you help out, at the family business a few times a week, if you babysit, all of that is experience, even if it's unpaid. If you can show that you're responsible and that, that you take your family or community seriously, that can also, I think, be an asset to anyone who is kind of applying for a first job, because they want to know that you're going to show up on time and be responsible and not create trouble. You don't need to have a crazy amount, as people are saying, of experience already. We know that if this is your first job out of the gate, we're looking more at your personality traits than the actual hard experience that you have.
Jonathan, you're muted. We can't hear one word you just said.
Oh, there we go. I was trying to control that properly. So my question was to you, Panama. Do you have any advice on this front? Because I'm sure you've probably worked with a lot of teens who have gone through this, and maybe you have some really great advice on this from your end as well.
Oh, there we go. I think it's so interesting because I mimic what everyone has said, right? Just in the sense of, we try to get them to understand that, as we all know, like as we can tell just from this initial interaction, I'm super personable, right? And one of the largest things that I always try to like let them know just at baseline, right? Is in any space that you go, let the world know that you are within that space, right? Because if you don't have any skills, if you don't have anything, because you know you're young, the only thing that you do have is your personality. The only thing that you do have is that first, hello. The first thing you have is, oh, listen, I want to do what I have to do. This is what it is. I will work, I will learn, and just being a sponge, especially within this space, right? Because I think most people are now, when it's your first job or your first internship or your first, like, we know you're a sponge. I mean, we know this is new. Like, we don't think that come into it, and you're going to be just great and amazing and all these other different things. As well as, I mean, we're also realists. Like, one of the things, even for us, you remember the what was it? As soon as you graduate college, as soon as you apply for your first job, they say you need experience, right? And the thing is, you'd be like, bruh, I just graduated. The only way I'm gonna get experience is if you hire me, right? And so with that being what it is, like, that's super real. And we don't want to be those people, right? And so I think the way that the lay of the land of how the workforce is changing, as well as just how, I think the people who have graduated with those stipulations are now the people who are hiring people and who are working with other people. So we understand, just come with your personality. Tell me what it is. Just be willing to be open and to be willing to learn. My father always said, it doesn't really matter what degree you have, because the job is going to show you the system. They have a way that they do things, and it is up to you to incorporate who you are into what is it that they're already doing, right? For our young people, one thing that we always ask for them is to give us them, right? Because for us, our job is to speak to young people and to kind of constantly push narratives forward. And as you said a little bit earlier, we're getting older, right? And so for them, they need to use that youth with us. Like, yo, listen, if the only skill that you have is what you naturally do regularly, like, think about it. Like, they naturally make TikTok videos. At Instagram or at an ad agency, at a marketing company, that's a skill, right? So we spend so much time functioning on what we deem as skills and not realizing that, what you do in your everyday life is a skill. We just got to figure out, how do you utilize your skill and add value to what it is that we're doing. So that big component is just figuring out, what is it that you're already doing, right, in your regular life? What is it that you're doing for free, right, that we would not mind doing for somebody else if they paid you, right? Like that's kind of like the largest thing that I would just say, like, opposed to kind of looking at other skills that you need to have, look at the skills that you already have. Remember, when you get into a new space, we're going to teach you other skills, but your baseline is, all right, what is it that you can do, right? What is it that you bring? Okay, I'm good at this. It used to be that you used to be good at Microsoft Word, Excel, and all these other things. Nah, the truth is, can you make a 10-second video pop? Like, what's up with your content creation? Tell me what it is when you're looking at all these tech things. You get what I'm saying? So there's so many I think young people are in an amazing space because they are the generation that were born into a tech world, right? With a tablet and something in front of them. They need to utilize those things when they're coming into their spaces. Like, that's just me. Like, I'll go on a whole tangent about just the reality of what it is, right? Like, we're looking for things that does not belong in the progressive society that we're pushing towards. So I don't want them to think what they don't have. They need to look at what they do have and just stand on that.
I mean, I'm just going to say amen to that. I totally agree with everything that you said. And that's only because I learned it myself through hard life experience, not because I walked into the world thinking that way from the start. So Lynette or Renee, anything you'd like to add on this point? Just sort of relating to like how you would just like how you would prepare and how you would think about your roles on any of these things, like your skill set and what roles you might offset with. Rather, I should say, let me be clear, how you would fill a role based on your strengths rather than worrying about your weaknesses, I guess is what I should say.
Okay, Lynette, you want to go first or?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. To add to what Mr. Panama just mentioned, I would say that, let me just be as blunt as I possibly can. Whatever aggravates the hell out of you and you want to change it, that is where you need to be focused. That is exactly the area in which you need to be focused on. So if you are the person that you have gone out and you have seen that perhaps security guards, they've been bullied by, people who come in to shop at a store, or they've been bullied by maybe, the walkers on the sidewalk, whatever. If that aggravates the hell out of you, that is your focus. That is where you need to be. What you want to change, whatever it is that you want to change, that is the area in which you need to be in. So I'm just going to add that to basically what Mr. Panama had pointed out. And also, let me just say this. Looking for a job is a job. I don't know what anybody ever told you guys that, but looking for a job is certainly a job. So keep that in mind whenever you're out there seeking for a position at any enterprise. Just think of that. Looking for a job is a job. And I'll finish there.
Oh, no, that's great advice, Vinay. We have 5 minutes left. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, if you don't mind putting it in the Q&A, or we'll monitor the chat too, but Q&A also helps. We have one question that was sitting there, and I think this was a good segue for it. Yep, applying for a job is a job in and of itself. And the things that irritate you the most, or where you feel the most called to get involved, is probably where you should start looking for sharing that strength with others and leveraging that as part of your career and experience. So the question is, if I don't have that as a job yet, how would I list that on a resume? Like, where would I put the fact that, let's say, I really care about the environment, and I just got a couple of friends together every Saturday to go and pick up litter from like the street or something like that, or took all the recyclables we found on the street and put it in the right recycling bin, like things like that. Or maybe volunteer opportunities. Would you just list it as volunteer? Would you say you would want to call it something else? Like, what would make it stand out so that a person feels confident that this experience of these things that they have done, the problems they do want to solve, don't get undervalued as like just volunteer or just activities? Like, do you have any advice about how to use that as a substitute and how you would list it on a resume? Who needs to be unmuted? I think everybody needs to be unmuted again. Try this again.
So I think that, you can really put whatever categories best serve you on a resume. So you could have it as extracurricular, you could have it as volunteer, you could have it as community work. Really whatever best serves your purpose. It doesn't all have to be, experience, internships, after school. You can change the categories to highlight what you've done and the projects that you've done.
Any other comments on that particular point?
I think I would say, so it's so interesting. I used to have a friend of mine, right? And bro used to work at, what was it? Subway, right? Subway sandwiches. And let me tell you what he would do. He would always say we would go out somewhere, you go out, go to a party, when you're meeting somebody, they would ask what he did. And he would be like, oh, no, I'm a professional sandwich artist. Right. So he would segue it into how he would say he wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. Right. Like, yeah, he worked at Subway, but he doctored it up and said, hey, I'm a professional sandwich artist. Right. And so in the same way, I think about like the volunteer things. Right. Nah, you tell the truth about what it is. Just stretch it. Right. I was a volunteer coordinator. That is very true. Did you coordinate, you and your friends? Did you send out the text messages to say, hey, we're going to meet here at this time, and say, that's coordinating. So we want to we overthink the basics, but at the end of the day, you are literally doing what it is that you would do anyway, right? So you just kind of word it the best way you can, because you can still speak to it. Because if they ask you about the opportunity, you can tell them the truth. Listen, this was the area that I wanted to kind of remodel, or I wanted to replot plants in this particular area of the park. I looked at the map in which area it was going to be. I dropped a pin. I put it on the map. I sent an invite on Google to see which one of my friends was actually going to make it. I coordinated with the parks department to get them to bring the items to the where we were going to be. I reached out to a local bagel shop to give us free bagels to do it in the morning. That is what I did. No, you didn't get paid to do it, but that work in itself, I would have paid you to do, right? And anybody that can read that and see that, and if you can explain that and express that, your chances are pretty high. So if you're gonna put it down, but add the details, right? Like work it like you need to work it, so you can make sure that you're speaking to something that kind of gives you a leg up to an extent.
Oh, thank you very much for that, Panama. And I think that's a good point for us to begin to close, because everyone's got to start switching. Some people here, Panama's got to switch to a different room for the next session. But I want to thank our panelists and our attendees for your questions. If there will be another run of this 2 more times. If you have any questions about any information that was shared, or any links, feel free to ask us in the chat in the next session, certainly look on the cb14youthconference.com website, which does have links to all the organizations that you are hearing from today. So I want to thank our panelists and our attendees, and now's your chance to go and find the next session that you would like to partake in. I'll put the link here in the chat, and this way you can browse. All right. Panama, you let me know if you need the link to the next room. I think that Project SAFE is supposed to be in. Cool. Okay. Okay. All right, we'll get started again at another 5 minutes at 5:05, your next one. So feel free to take a break, get some water, whatever you need. Hi, everybody. We're going to get started in just a few moments. We're going to aim for that 5:05 start time, but feel free to take a break, stretch your legs, get some water, and we'll be with you in a couple of minutes. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for session 2 in room 4, Ready for It, Job Preparedness Training and Opportunities. I am your moderator facilitator for this chat, Jonathan Judge. I'm co-chair of the Youth Services Committee of Brooklyn Community Board 14. And I've been a part of this youth conference for the 14 years that we've been doing it for our community district. And we're very glad to have everybody here tonight. I guess it's tonight, although it's really sunny out. So I really appreciate all of you who are actually still here and partaking in these. But I hope you're also maybe using your phone and sitting somewhere in a park, maybe, or by the beach or something, if just to enjoy this beautiful weather we're having. But we're not here just to enjoy the weather. There'll be plenty of time to do that. What we are here to do is meet our wonderful panelists to talk about job preparedness training, what the job opportunities are that they offer, and to give you a little bit more insight on what you can do as you contemplate your career and your future, and what makes you happy and also can earn you something very decent as a living in the future. So with that, I'm going to kick it off with our panelists. We have Lynette Ford from the Brooklyn Public Library, Bob McNeil from Children of Promise NYC. We have Brooklyn Job Corps, Renee, and we have, I believe that's it for the moment, unless I'm missing somebody. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go around, just do a quick intro of the opportunities that you have to offer our 14 to 21-year-old attendees. what your organization is about, what those opportunities look like, and just introduce yourselves that way. And then we'll go into some questions, some of which I'll ask. Of course, we encourage you, if you don't know how to do it already, find the Q&A button or find the chat in the meeting. And if you have questions that come to mind as we go, put it in there and we'll try to answer them as much as we can with the time that we're allotted. So with that, I asked Lynette to go first last time. Maybe I'll mix it up. Maybe I'll turn it over to Renee first. How do you feel about that, Renee? Let's see, and can you unmute yourself yet, or do I have to still do that? I think I have to still do it. Let's try it. So go ahead, Renee. Tell us a little about Brooklyn Job Corps and what opportunities you have for our attendees.
Yes, you would pick me first this time. Only you would do that, Mr. Judge. Okay, so welcome. My name is Renee Bracey, and I am the Work-Based Learning Coordinator, as well as the Business Community Liaison at the Brooklyn Job Corps Center. We're located in the heart of Stuyvesant on 585 Bpl Avenue. Basically, this is a program that is designed to train students, or should I say individuals, that is, train individuals who are looking to not looking, but expressing interest, of course, in the fields of perhaps culinary, CMA, security, and IT. So if you are interested in those fields, or you know someone who may be interested in a field, and they are between the ages of 17 to 24, by all means, give them the information on that. Not only are we actually have this program geared to those students or individuals, let's say, we also provide those same training for those who are veterans as well. So if you know any veterans, let them know about the program as well. We have a lot of support here at the Brooklyn Job Corps Center. However, it is unfortunate at this time our students are remote learning. We're dealing with remote learning. So I want to say that we definitely, the staff members here, we miss our students and we want our students to come home. Yes, indeed. But for the most part, we just have to wait until the powers that be confirm it, and that's that. But again, if you are looking to, express any type of interest in any of the fields that I mentioned, by all means, contact Brooklyn Job Corps at 718-623-4001, or you can go to our website, which is jobcorps.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Renee. So Lynette, tell us a little bit more about the Midwood branch of the Brooklyn Public Library and the opportunities and also services that the library offers.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Lynette Ford. I work at the Midwood branch of Brooklyn Public Library. We are on East 16th and Avenue J. I first just wanted to announce the library is starting to open back up again. If you live in the CB14 area, Flatbush, Midwood, and Kings Highway branches, you can now actually walk in and browse for books and talk to us. So we'd love to have you come back. I'm also here today just to let you know kind of what we offer for those of you who are looking to get into college or to get your first job. We have a lot of resources, not just at Midwood, but through our Business and Career Center, which are accessible anywhere with a library card. We have a service called Bpl College Connect, where you can have a one-on-one session with a Brooklyn librarian, and we can walk you through the application process. We can walk you through the FAFSA process and kind of help you determine what might be the right college program for you. We also have a lot of guides online. I'm going to share links in the chat in a minute, but we have resume templates, cover letter templates, and a lot of helpful resources for if you are job seeking for the first time or the second time, regardless of your career level. We also offer resume and career help. We offer it via email, and we also offer it as one-on-one private sessions. Right now we're offering it virtually. I actually do sessions on Fridays, usually between 9 and 11 that you can register for. And you can also sign up for future appointments with our business and career staff. And finally, I want to just tell you about some opportunities coming up at the library. We do have a paid internship opportunity for ages 14 through 18, basically high school students. A technology program called Today's Deans, Tomorrow's Techies, or D4. Basically, if you're interested in technology and kind of working in a team and working with the public, you can apply. And if you're accepted, you will attend a 2-week workshop on all things techie. So Adobe Photoshop, Dreamweaver, 3D printing, computer troubleshooting. We're going to teach you how to do all that. And then in the fall, for the following 6 months, you will spend about 3 hours a week. We'll assign you to one of our local branches. You could request Midwood if you like, and you can come and actually work with the public and help them with their computer troubles that they're having. You can do programs if you wanted to do a 3D printing program with kids or with other teens. You can do that as well. And once you complete our program, you will receive a stipend as well as community service hours for the time that you spend in our branch. We're also going to be recruiting for Librarians of Tomorrow starting in the fall. That's something similar. It's a little more intense. It's throughout the second half of the school year. You would be volunteering your time / working at one of our branches, shadowing one of our staff, learning about what librarians do, like events and welcoming the public, helping them find information. And again, at the conclusion of that program, you also receive a stipend and community service hours. So we really hope that you apply if you're interested. And I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. I have a handout document with all the links and all the information for these programs. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Lynette. Those opportunities really sound like a great way to get experience helping people and also getting involved in a hot industry like technology and getting some just, you know, getting your feet wet in such a, I mean, really, the sky's the limit with what you can do with technology. So it's very exciting to learn about that. I'm sure we'll have some questions coming up from that. But I'm going to turn it over now to Bob McNeil, Children of Promise, New York City. And we have a mutual connection. I've worked with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and through our Young BK Professionals Committee, I got to know Sophie Halter when she was involved with development and the Young Professionals Council. I think she's still involved in the Young Professionals Council at Children of Promise. So we're very glad to have you here today and have that mutual connection. So tell us a little bit more about you, Children of Promise, and what opportunities you have to offer our attendees.
Of course. Well, first, Children of Promise, for those who are not aware, is a nonprofit organization that specializes in offering direct services to youth and families who have been impacted by mass incarceration. So what this looks like in real time is if there's a youth or who's attending our programs, this means that they're either a parent or a close sibling is incarcerated or was formerly incarcerated at some point in time, recognizing that trauma and also providing those resources to the family as well as the youth. For the teen program, which is relatively new, which is something that I helped design, is for ages 14 through 18. So we do have extended program during the school year to run parallel with the school year, but for summer, we shake it up just a bit. So for those who, the goal is always to get all our teens signed up for SYP. Of course, that's the premier source for jobs and for that age group anyway. But as you all know, it's a lottery system. So of course we get all our teens signed up for it, but for those who don't, over the summer, we match those the benefits of SYP for the teens who don't receive the SYP benefits. So for the 6 weeks where our teens are receiving, for those who were selected for SYP, are receiving those benefits from SYP. For those who didn't and they're still in the program, we're still matching those benefits. So each week they're still getting paid a stipend. And then what you'll be doing during that summer, there's various soft skill workshops that we teach, whether it's professionalism, resume building, mock interviews, career guidance for those who are looking to go to college prep, the whole gamut from understanding financial aid to what essay should look like when you're filling out your college applications. Now we marry all of that with our wellness center, which is also on site. So each of our participants have a one-on-one clinician. Now, of course, this is only if your family decides to do that as well. But along with that, Of course, we have the soft skill workshops. We have the professionalism and the skill building workshops that we do over the summer. We also have fun. So every week there's a field trip. So just to let you guys relax for a second, because one thing that we did notice over the past year, especially with our teen population and during the pandemic, virtual school is tough. So our biggest thing is trying to figure out ways to give you a release while also giving you the experience that you need for life after high school. So some of that is along with what I said earlier, but also partnering with different departments in our organization during the summer to get that hands-on experience. As Mr. Judge here mentioned, the development department, that's one of the departments that also have tasks that teens need they need teens to help complete for the summer. So one of those the task or one of those areas will be the development team, which is in charge of our marketing, who's in charge of our donations, the handling the donors, the volunteers, and the mentors, the aspect of the organization. But yeah, so that's what we have for this summer. We have a lot that usually goes on. Pretty sure Mr. Judge could tell you throughout the year, but this summer we're jam-packed and excited for what this teen program looks like. If you would like to get in contact with me or to see if you qualify for the program, I'm going to put my email, Instagram, and our webpage in the chat now.
That's really awesome, Bob. I didn't realize that that Children of Promise had that many new opportunities. I think that's, like you said, it's within the last year that those programs started. That's really fantastic. So, so this is a great opportunity for our attendees to start thinking of the questions they may have. And no question is too general to ask or too specific. I mean, if it is, then we'll tell you, and we'll tell you to talk to someone else outside of this meeting. But feel free to ask any question you have. Put it in the Q&A, or you could put it in the chat. And so while everyone put their thinking caps on and considering what they might want to ask, I have a question that I asked at the last session. I think it'll be good to ask it again, which is, let's just say I'm 15 years old. I want to get a job. I don't know what I would be particularly good at. I don't know what to apply for, or I'm not sure if I would qualify. So should I even bother applying for that job if I see an opening, or any of these programs that you're all talking about that sound really, really cool? Wish they were around when I was a kid. How would I know, how could I start identifying like what skill sets I would need if I were to apply for the opportunities that you're offering? And so this is a question for all of our panelists. I'll let whoever, I'll try to unmute everybody here so that if you have an answer to that. But basically, what skills, what traits, what personality characteristics might indicate to me whether I'd be a good fit for one of these opportunities if I've never had a job before and I don't know yet?
I'll jump in.
Go ahead, by all means, yeah.
Traits, characteristics, something when you're looking for something that always liken this when I have this conversation with the teens who come into our program, with the first, if you decide to go to college, your first year of college, trying to figure out what you want to major in, what you need to bring to a table. Of course, you don't know what you want to do, which is okay, but flexibility and open mind, being willing to try different things. There may be something where at the onset you may think, that's not for me, until you try it and then realize something you actually like to do. Example would be, for instance, we offered a fashion class to our teens last fall. And there was this guy who was just always, I want to play basketball, that's it. I only want to focus on basketball. And to one day I was like, let's try the class. So he tried it and he was the regular. He was the one who kept coming back for fashion. And now he's working with that teacher to start his own fashion line. So you never know what you may like to do until you bring an open mind and be flexible and willing to try something new. So that's all that we do ask, is just come ready to work and to try a myriad of things until we can help you find what it is that you like to do.
Thank you very much for that, Bob. I don't know if you have anything you want to add, Lynette or Renee?
Well, similar to what Bob was talking about, we want people who are curious. You don't have to be a technology whiz right off the bat if you come to the T4 program, but we do want someone who is interested in learning those types of things. And for library programs, you're going to meet a lot of diverse people. So we want someone who is not necessarily super outgoing, but someone who likes meeting people and interacting with them and helping them. So those are definitely traits that we look for. And I didn't get to mention this in the last panel, but it always helps if you want to apply somewhere, read the mission statement of what they're asking for and what kind of change they're trying to make in the world, and see if it aligns with the kind of change that you want to make in the world. And that's one way that you can start to figure out the type of place that you will ultimately want to work.
That's an excellent point, Lynette. And I kind of think we could ask Renee to invoke her I think like really juicy golden nugget of wisdom that she mentioned toward the end of our last panel. And I don't know if you remember what you said, Renee, but I thought it was really really good. And I think it bears repeating about what aggravates you, that being an indicator.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Judge. Basically, what I mentioned in the last panel was whatever aggravates you, whatever just bothers the heck out of you, that is the area that you need to be focused on, because that is where you are going to win your strength. You know what works, you know what doesn't work. So whatever aggravates you, of course, this is where you need to be focused. This is where you need to align yourself. In addition to that, I also mentioned that being adaptable, you definitely have to be adaptable. That's one of the traits that they definitely look for on a resume. The ability to go out there and just blend in whatever it is you learn. You may not be, the super person for that particular area, but once you learn it, hey, the sky's the limit. It's the only thing that I can add to it.
No, I could speak from personal experience on that front, that probably being willing to try different things and not always find myself in the right fit has helped me get closer and closer. And I just turned 35, and though I was always good at technology, I mean, there's a lot of roles in technology. There's a lot of roles if you're a people person. And just because someone else really succeeds in one way doesn't mean that they're going to succeed in the way that would make them happy. And so that, really employing trial and error and being willing to say, hey, I don't have to put myself in a box. And there probably is a role that would suit you, even if you don't fit in the box of doing one particular kind of job. But the key is that trial and error. It's being flexible, being adaptable, being willing to learn, and getting to a place where you're really, really happy with where you are. So I think that's fantastic advice. I have one question from Alicia, and I'm wondering if any of you could add any insight to this. She's asking, what summer programs are out there for teenagers under 18 who are interested in engineering? And I guess we could also modify this to say, even if we don't have a knowledge of a specific program related to engineering, are there other opportunities that might help someone who's looking to get into engineering get the kind of skills and experience they might need to succeed in that? So I'll open up to all of our panelists here, and we'll see what we have.
I'd like to add, Alicia, I did send a link to the consortium for research in robotics at Pratt Institute, which is located at Brooklyn Navy Yards. The person over that, Ms. Megan, she actually reached out to me last week to get our teams involved in it who are interested in robotics and engineering. But that's a great organization to start with. And that's one of the first resources I have right on hand. But definitely, I will look through that, see what you think. And if you do need help looking for other engineering opportunities, I'm sure I'm okay with that. And I'm pretty sure all the other panelists wouldn't mind helping you find that. And as for the deadline is the 21st, so this Friday. So yes.
Oh, well, I mean, got 24 hours, so it's and what if for whatever reason, what are the other opportunities that you might suggest or consider? If you can't get into one program for whatever reason, what else? Any advice or any experiences that might be conducive for an engineering role that might be helpful for Alicia to consider?
The Samsung Center in Lower Manhattan, I think it's the Meatpacking District. They usually have a summer program for the kids under 18, where you come in, and similar to the Consortium for Research in Robotics, and you learn how to use different types of technology in the world of robotics and engineering. I'm sorry, it's late Wednesday. My language is starting to leave me. But
I can relate. Don't worry.
And also the Google Center that's also in the city. They normally do summer programs such as that. But that will be the directions that I point to. We usually have our engineering programs here on site, but it varies based on the season. It usually based on the survey that we give to our scholars, which determines what programming we're bringing in for the summer, fall, or spring.
Thank you for sharing that, Bob. Lynette, Renee, any advice for Alicia who wants to get into engineering? Any alternatives or other programs you might offer or suggest?
I don't think I can really top Bob's suggestions in terms of engineering opportunities. Usually I would point people to, we have at the library some library guides. I just put a link in the chat. We do compile a list of different training programs. So it's always worth taking a look, seeing if anything fits your age range. But I think all of Bob's suggestions are absolutely great.
They really are. Gotta thank you for that, Bob. Yeah. Renee?
I would have to agree with Bob on that. Those particular corporations, yes. You may want to look into that. But let me just say this. Sometimes we tend to overlook the most simple areas that, would actually employ our youth. And that's summer youth employment. You can find something that you are interested in. And if it is robotics, perhaps they do have, an enterprise that they're working with. You can, be employed there for the summer, gain as much experience as you possibly can. So I would say, it's not just looking at the corporations or the enterprise that we, normally talk about in terms of engineering or computer tech, whatever. I think you need to look at the most simple areas, and that is, of course, summer youth employment, because they can pair you up as well. So you might want to look into that solution.
Thank you for that tip, Renee. And we, because of the timing of everything pandemic related and summer youth employment program application wise, we haven't been able to really promote as much because the deadline passed in April. But just because this summer you may not have had a chance to apply if you didn't apply yet, you will have to wait till next year. But there are other programs, and certainly there's an application process every year, so you can apply next year and keep your eyes peeled for those opportunities and for that application window sometime in the early spring of next year, and maybe you can apply and get into the lottery for 2022. But on that point, so we were talking, you bringing up a very good point. There are many different ways to get this experience or to get these skills. And we were talking in our last session about, well, what do I do if I'm a teen? I haven't had a job before, but I want to apply. And maybe I have an idea of what I'd like to do, but maybe I'm afraid to apply because I don't have anything to put on my resume, and I'm scared about what to put on the resume. Also, another great point that came up in our last session had to do with sort of like GPA and grades. Maybe you're a stellar student in all subjects. Maybe you excel in only one, and maybe that makes you feel insecure, or maybe you're confident and you know that you're really good at that one thing and you love that one thing, but you don't know how to convey that in a way confidently to an employer who you think might be looking for straight A pluses in every subject. So what would be your advice to someone who's never had this job experience, how would they fill out their resume, and how would they preach to their strengths and offset the things they might be concerned or weaknesses when they look to apply. So I'm going to open that up to whoever wants to take it first, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I would actually go first on this. I think that normally, if you're a high school student, there are organizations that you can engage in. The more organizations listed there are the organizations that basically speak to what it is that you love the most or you're interested in. You want to convey that on your resume. You want to put that on your resume because that allows them to see would that skill be transferable, with that whatever it is that you've done in the organization, would you be able to transfer something towards what it is that they're looking for? So I would say jot down your organizations because they're definitely relevant on your resume.
Thank you, Renee. Lynette, Bob, anything you'd like to add to that?
Of course. I was that student. I didn't have my first actual job until I was roughly 22 and a junior in college. And it wasn't really a job, it was work study. I was student athlete in college, so it was literally no time between running track and then going to class. But what I did learn, which I found to be the most profound lesson of my the career, if you will, by going to the career services offices on campus, though not having a job, you will be surprised how much or the value of leadership skills are on a resume. That was literally what filled my entire resume. From high school, I was always volunteering. I was always doing something. I was on the debate team. I played sports. When I got to college, the fraternity I was in, I was the president. So I had multiple different ways to show responsibility and how I was a leader in those areas. And that's what filled up my resume. That's what literally got my first job when I moved from North Carolina to Brooklyn and realized, okay, I can't not have a job as an adult anymore. So, look at that. I mean, while you're in high school, what different areas are your the strengths there? Are you really involved? Are you a great student? Show how you are a leader in those areas, and that can still translate to responsibility and value that an employer looks for. And if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Lynette, please correct me, to at least get started with that format, most public libraries offer some type of resume building, the classes or workshops, or someone who's there who can help you at least get started with the format, what your name is. And if that's not near you, of course, Microsoft Word has the template that shows you where you can write things in, as well as searching up examples online. But my biggest lesson was understanding that there's leadership in a lot of your areas of life that really can be applied to a resume that doesn't have to be things that you were paid to do, such as being a captain of the softball team. That's a very real leadership quality that a job would love to have. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Lynette, anything you want to add in terms of like the library services in that end, and any tips on that you might be able to share?
Well, yeah, we do offer on the LibGuides that's listed on the handout that I have a link for. I'll link it again. We do have resume templates and some tips for teens, but also when you're looking for your first job, you can really focus on your soft skills. Those are things like I'm punctual, I'm a team player, I'm intuitive, I'm flexible, and even something that doesn't seem that important, that's what's really going to make or break your application, because they are really looking at how responsible you are. They want to make sure that you have the personality that will fit for the job. You don't need to have hours and hours and years of actual experience. Yeah, and you can always feel free to reach out to me if you're not sure how to get started with the template, or you're not really sure what sections to put on your resume, and I'm happy to help walk you guys through that.
That's very I muted myself quickly. That's very generous of you to offer that, Lynette, and I think people should be wise to take advantage of that opportunity. We've kind of talked around something because we didn't get to really address it in the last session, but it's something that has been keen in my mind because we are all in this Zoom world. I mean, it looks like we're going to get out of Zoom world and virtual world soon, hopefully sooner than we think, maybe not right away. But I know that the most nerve-wracking thing can be an interview for a job, because even if you put the resume in, that only tells a little piece of the story, gets the attention that could lead to the interview. And then there's the interview. And so before they were in person and there was maybe a certain way to dress and so forth. And now, at least for a while, they might be still virtual. So I'm curious if you have any tips or insights to offer about the virtual interview process. Have you done virtual interviews? Have you hired? What are the do's and don'ts that you've experienced? And certainly if anyone in the audience has any questions they'd like to ask in particular about this, please go ahead and mention it. But I'd love to hear any feedback from our panelists on this.
Okay, test your computer, test your audio and your visual, because God help you if they cannot hear you. God help you if the lighting is terrible. You have to test your visual and your audio when it comes down to virtual interview. Anybody want to add to that?
You're right on the head with it. Your background, extremely important. It is distracting if say you're deciding to take this interview at a park and there's a family plan behind you. Like it's like certain things you want to make sure that you're cognizant. Again, language is leaving me. Cognizant of when you're doing those virtual interviews. And on the flip side, I also like to add, of course, being the interviewer, then the interviewee, the experience is very different virtually. I'm great at in-person interviews. That's what I practice for through college, through high school. This is all I do, is what we offer our kids as well. But what we realized we had to add was virtual interviews, because now even though the pandemic shifted everything to virtual, a lot of organizations are still looking to keep that first initial interview or screening virtual. This way it saves time, it's quick, it's efficient, and you can make your decision based from that. So there are a lot of skills you can learn virtual. Facial expressions say a lot when you don't have nothing but to look at somebody's face the entire time that they're talking to you. So knowing your body language and the way that you're sitting, the way that you're talking or expressing yourself, of course, not like me, as I keep forgetting words tonight, but understanding that each of these play a role, and learning how to manipulate those to your benefit when having an interview will help you put your best foot forward. So definitely practice. I can't say that enough. Practice, and of course the visual. As my colleague before me said, make sure what you're wearing, the background, your microphone, the tech check is done. So the only thing you have to worry about is the question and how you answer it. You do not want to worry about your microphone or your spotty connection in the middle of an interview, as that leaves a bad taste, as first impressions are extremely important.
No, very good points, Bob. Lynette, anything, any experiences that you've had that have been interesting in the course of this pandemic from a virtual interview or conversation perspective that you'd like to give our attendees some heads up on?
I haven't really had any virtual interviews, although I do want to add, eye contact is always important, and I'm not doing a very good job of this right now, but take your eyes off the actual screen, look at the top of your computer at the camera, because then you'll be looking at the interviewer. So it's really hard to do for some reason, but that is one pointer to keep in mind.
That's a very good point. And it's funny on that one, I've noticed that some devices do a better job of aligning the lens to where your eyes will be looking on the screen probably. And so that it looks like you're actually looking at the camera. But of course, one of the things that I could even offer as a suggestion is that sometimes you're reading something off of your phone and everyone just thinks you're just texting someone else in the middle of the conversation. So being mindful of that, trying to keep your focus on the screen and the camera of the people you're talking to, even if you're doing the right thing, it might still give the wrong impression. But those are great tips. So we got a few more minutes left. If there are any other questions that anyone has, please go ahead and put it in the chat or in the Q&A. I have one question here from Eternity, who is asking about internship opportunities for 20 and over. I know that's a little bit reaching beyond our age range here, and that's something that possibly, certainly if you're in college, there might be a department that might help with that. But any opportunities, or certainly Job Corps. I mean, obviously Job Corps doesn't restrict to just teens. So any opportunities for internships for 20 years up and plus?
Okay, I know the screen, I'm not on the screen at this time. I got so much going on again, but let me just point out the fact that at the Brooklyn Job Corps Center, basically we have this program called work-based learning. You would actually intern for about 6 weeks, or perhaps maybe a little longer than that, depending on the company. And afterwards, again, depending on the company, you probably would receive a stipend, or that would be an opportunity for you to become employed by the company. So again, we're looking at the age of 17 to 24. Yes, you can enroll in Brooklyn Job Corps and perhaps become a part of one of the companies by doing work-based learning.
Thank you very much for that, Renee. Lynette, Bob, any opportunities for that, like not quite out of college range, but not quite, with the degree and the certainty of what to do next? Any opportunities you're aware of that way?
Nothing as of yet at BPL, although we do have on a rolling basis, sometimes in our general career section of our website, we will post opportunities or sometimes even part-time opportunities that are open to current college students. I believe sometimes we hire tutors for our literacy zones and our like youth education programs. So that's always something to be on the lookout for.
One thing, yes, we do. The short answer. Internships, but I'll actually go a step further for those who are still in college, a job. As that's like our target audience for people who are still in college, to be counselors or group leaders within our organization for our DYCD program, as well as counselors and leaders for our teen program as well. So an actual job we can also offer you. Internships are always ongoing throughout the year. If you are interested in those, please shoot me an email. I can put my email back in the chat, and I can get you in touch with our volunteer coordinator. So volunteering and internships are always going on throughout the year with different departments, and we're always looking for people to volunteer. I will say small hooker or some secret information. If you volunteer with our organization, you're more likely to get the intern opportunities first, considering you build a relationship with the organization. So for those who volunteer, they are usually first in line to get those paid internships and then offered jobs because we have a relationship with the organization. But if you want to skip all of that, you also can apply to us as well for one of the positions I mentioned earlier, or the ones that are on the website that I put in the first message. I also put my email and our web address in the chat as well again.
And I think that's a really great place for us to start to wind down. I do have one last question that I think will be really helpful for everyone to consider, because, this youth conference we've been doing 14 years, and everybody wants to know about jobs, and everyone's looking to get jobs, and they want to know how they can apply for the job and get the job so they can make money and get that experience. But there are multiple routes, and I think all of you hinted on the multiple routes. So in lieu of getting a job, let's say you're 15, 16, what are the other opportunities? Obviously, internships are one type of opportunity. what other opportunities are valuable that are more likely to help you get that job and to know what job to look for. So any suggestions in terms of other things that people may be able to do if the job isn't in their immediate future? Any suggestions of what else counts as like really good experience that might be unorthodox that people don't know about? And I'll unmute quickly here.
Volunteering is the it's for me when I had that question is what pops up the fastest or the quickest because that's usually how you build a relationship for one. Two, that experience still transfers over to your resume. And as you grow with a particular organization or how many times you volunteer, it may start as, let's say we do a clothing distribution and you're helping handle the clothes, or now it gets to the point where you're actually organizing and supervising the other volunteers while you are doing that event. So that becomes a actual leadership task while you are simply volunteering. So you can get a lot of valuable experience simply asking to volunteer with an organization, and most organizations are more receptive to those who come to ask to volunteer. We could always use help. So if the job isn't right there, say if you didn't get the position, and that's okay. You can still build up that same experience and quality and experience that would come from having that job or internship. So volunteering.
I'll just ask this quickly because we'll have to wrap up so we can switch to our next rooms. But what about just to answer Alicia's question quickly? Volunteering in an area that you don't have necessarily interest in, does expanding your horizons, is it like a thumbs up, like yes, try something different, or nope, just stick to what you know you're only interested in?
Yeah, definitely try to expand your horizons if you can. You know, if you don't like it, then once the volunteer time period is up, you don't go back. And now you know what you don't want to do. So you've already made progress.
All right. All right. Well, if there's no other comments on that point, then I want to thank our panelists again for taking the time to talk with us and answer those questions. And I want to thank our attendees for this session for joining us. And I hope this was productive and useful to you. And so I encourage you to go to cb14youthconference.com to look at the next session that you want to join. We're going to conclude here and start up again in about 5 minutes. So we have time to make the transition. And I believe, Bob, you are going to room 2 next. So if you need the link to that, let us know. Otherwise, thank you for joining us for this session. And see everybody, we'll see whoever they're going to see in the next session. All right. Back in 5 minutes.
Mr. the Judge, quick question. I thought I was back in I did 2 last. I thought it was 244.
I see on my note here that you were supposed to be staying. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? You are correct.
Oh, I just wanted to be sure.
You were staying. It's just that you were not listed again in the session 3 list, but I do see that it says that you should be staying. So I take that back, and I'm glad that you're staying. So I didn't want you to go. So I'm happy that you are here. I'm happy that you're staying.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll give everyone a few minutes to refresh themselves, get a sip of water or whatever, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Got me. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. We'll get started in just a moment. So just stay tuned and we'll be kicking off our panel in just a minute. All right, everybody, we're gonna get this panel started. Session 3, the third and the final session of our annual youth conference. Very glad to be here tonight. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Jonathan Judge, co-chair of the Youth Services Committee of Brooklyn Community Board 14, and welcome to our 14th annual youth conference. We've been doing this since 2008, bringing jobs, internships, and other opportunities to the young people of our district between the ages of 14 and 21. We are very glad to have you at our first virtual youth conference. We hope this is just as valuable, if not more valuable, of an experience for you as our in-person events have been in the past if you haven't attended. With that, I'm going to kick off our panel on ready for it, job preparedness, training, and opportunities. We have a really great panel of presenters from organizations and agencies who have a lot of great opportunities and a lot of great insight about how to start thinking about your work life and what kind of work you want to do and how you can pursue the opportunities that are a really good fit for you. So we're going to have everyone introduce themselves briefly, who they are, what their organization is about, and what opportunities they have to offer 14 to 21-year-olds. And then we're going to go to Q&A. I will come up with some questions to ask our panelists, and hopefully along the way, that'll prompt some questions that you might have about the opportunities that have been talked about, or some questions you might have about overall job preparedness training and how to pursue those opportunities. So without further ado, I'll introduce our panelists. We have with us Lynette Ford of the Brooklyn Public Library, Bob McNeil of Children of Promise NYC. We have, and I believe that you are a new panelist, and I want to make sure that I introduce you correctly. I don't have your name on my list right now, but a step ahead, which I believe is Tutoring, and we're going to hear from you in just a short bit. But let me turn it over to Lynette to kick things off. I believe I have to unmute you again still. I'm still learning how this whole webinar thing works in Zoom. So we'll kick off there. And so yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Lynette, about the Midwood branch of the Brooklyn Public Library and the opportunities and services that you have for our attendees today.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Hi, everyone. I'm Lynette Ford. I'm a librarian at the Brooklyn Public Library's Midwood branch. We're on Avenue J and East 16th Street. I'd like to announce to everyone, first of all, that the libraries are starting to open back up again. If you live in the CB14 area, you can visit Midwood, Kings Highway, and Flatbush branch and actually go inside and browse for books and talk to us and hang out for a little while. So we'd love to have you back. And most of what we do at BPL is we want to connect people to all kinds of educational resources that we can. So some of the resources that we have for you are not just available at Midwood, they're available to anyone with a library card at any of our branches. We have a service for those of you looking to go to college. It's called Bpl College Connect. And what it is, it's a one-on-one, right now it's a virtual meeting, but a one-on-one meeting with a BPL trained staff member, and they can help talk you through how to find the right college program, exploring alternative options if maybe college isn't quite for you, like technical certificates, how to complete your applications for a school like CUNY or SUNY, and how to apply for things like FAFSA. We'll walk you through the process. For those of you who are looking at possible careers or maybe looking for your first job, our Business and Career Center has a bunch of online options. We have some guides online. Some have resume templates, some have cover letter templates. We have tips for interviews. We also do one-on-one sessions on a rolling basis for one-on-one resume and career assistance. You can connect with a future session with one of my colleagues in Business and Career Center, or I also do sessions as well. I have one coming up this Friday between 9 and 11, and I also do them on a rolling basis. So I'll share my info in the chat if you're looking to connect with someone to walk you through making a resume for the first time. And finally, we do have paid internship opportunities at the library. These are just for 14 through 18. If you're like 20, 21, you'd want to check our careers section. We have those type of internships on a rolling basis. But if you're in high school, we're currently recruiting for a technology internship. Today's teens, tomorrow's techies. And basically, if you're accepted, you do a 2-week workshop. Right now it's virtual, but you learn all kinds of tech skills like how to troubleshoot people's computers, Adobe Photoshop, Dreamweaver, Java programming, 3D printing, all kinds of nifty stuff. And then in the fall, you will spend some time working at one of our local branches like Midwood. And you'd spend about 3 hours or so every week just coming and helping the public when they're having trouble using our computers. Some people make events like a 3D printing event to teach kids or other teens how to do it. And you receive not only community service credit for the time you spend working with us at our branches, but we also give you a stipend at the end of the program. We're also going to recruit later in the fall for another internship, Librarians of Tomorrow. You spend a significant amount of time in our branches, about 80 to 100 hours between January through June, shadowing a librarian like myself or one of our staff, learning about the profession, learning how we deal with welcoming new people to the library and educating them. And you will also receive community service credit and a slightly larger stipend once you complete that program. So if you think that's something that you're interested in, you should definitely apply. I'm going to put some links in the chat. I have a handout with all of this information and all of the application links, as well as my email. So feel free to reach out with any questions.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Lynette. Those sound like really great opportunities, especially to get involved in a very hot industry like technology and to get some ground level experience doing that and serving the public as well. So I think that's really a great set of opportunities that you have. I'm gonna turn it over to Gabrielle Crichlow. Sorry, I couldn't find it initially on my list, but we're glad to have you here, Gabrielle, and we would love to know more about A Step Ahead Tutoring Services and what opportunities and services you have to offer our 14 to 21-year-old attendees. And of course, I always got to remember to unmute. I think now you should be able to go ahead. Thank you for joining us tonight, Gabrielle.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so my name is Gabrielle Crichlow. I am the owner and director of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So my company offers one-on-one services, educational services to children and adults. We offer one-on-one tutoring, test prep, editing and proofreading, and college counseling. So our mission is to personalize the services for our students. We target, our clients, I should say, are K to 12, and we also do some college and adult learners as well. We cover a wide variety of subjects. We definitely do the core subjects, so that's math, reading, writing, science, history. We also do test prep as SAT and ACT. I am particularly in this panel because we have a ongoing need to fill our virtual tutoring positions. So the pandemic has forced us to remodel ourselves in a way. So we are expanding our services virtually. Right now, everything is virtual. So we are looking for virtual tutors. Fortunately, you have to be at least 18 years old, at least 18, well knowledged in the core subjects, math, reading, and writing, as well as comfortable using the virtual platforms like Skype and Zoom. So if that's, what grades are you looking for? Um, in terms of the tutors or who to serve? In terms of the tutors. So at least 18 years old. So your age needs to be at least 18, so not a specific grade in terms of being a tutor, but as long as you are at least 18 years old, we can take you. So so this is it's an as needed position, per diem, part-time. Um, so if you're looking more like a side hustle, this is a good position for you. What grades do you work with? So so you decide what grades you want to work with. So if you're, I mean, I have a preference for the more grades you could do, the better. Um, so you decide what grades and what subjects you want to tutor. But again, the more you can offer, the more appealing you are. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the information in the chat. If you are interested, I'm going to include the Indeed page. So if you go to that link that I put in the chat, you'll see all the information there about the position. And I strongly encourage you to send your resume through Indeed. However, if there are any technical issues, you're also welcome to email your resume to success@astepaheadtutoringservices.com. But strongly preferred if you can go through Indeed.com and submit a resume.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Gabrielle, and thank you so much for having such a great opportunity to both employ your academic strengths and create opportunities for those who do succeed in certain areas to be able to give back, and also to let those who know, hey, if you have a weakness in a certain area and you want to help, now you have a really great contact from the community where you can get those tutoring services. So I think that's really a win-win across the board for us tonight. So thank you for sharing. I'm going to turn over now to our new friend, Bob McNeil from Children of Promise NYC. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Children of Promise, and what opportunities and services you offer to our 14 to 21-year-old attendees.
Of course. I'm Bob McNeil. I'm the team program manager here at Children of Promise. Children of Promise is a nonprofit located in Bed-Stuy as well as the Bronx. We are a center that caters to youth and family members, families who have been impacted by mass incarceration. What we do offer for teens is our newly created teen program, which we refer to as Youth Action, for teens who are aged 14 through 18. And that's a 3-part program during the year. So there's a fall session, there's a spring session, and then there is a summer as well. During the summer, which is coming up, what we do is our goal during the year is to first get all of our teens signed up for SYP. As for ages 14 through 24, that is the premier source for a job in New York City for the summer. And of course, we all know it's a lottery system, so there's a chance you may not get picked. But for our teens who are selected, they still attend summer program as normal. They work for us as the work site from their provider. But for the teens who are in our program over the summer who do not get selected, we offer a competitive we match the benefits of SYP. So in short form, I'm sorry, as I mentioned to my colleagues earlier, my language is leaving me, so I'm starting to lose words as I keep talking. But we do, to sum it up, what we do offer is for those who don't get SYP, we still pay them a stipend weekly that matches what those who were selected for SYP, what they get paid weekly as well. So that's something we do for 14 through 18. For anyone who's above 18, we have numerous volunteer and internship positions and opportunities for you. I'm going to put my email in the chat. I can get you in contact with our volunteer coordinator, and she can point you in the direction for any volunteering opportunities that may be coming up or any internships available in the various departments that they are available in. So for instance, if you are planning to go into finance, or you're in college and you're looking to major in business and finance, our finance department are looking for interns for this summer and for the fall. Or if you're in development and marketing is your thing, our development team is also looking for interns for the summer and fall. But I will put my information into the chat, and feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Bob, for sharing that. I was explaining in a previous session how I'm familiar through a mutual friend with Children of Promise, someone who used to work for but is still very involved with the organization. And the fact that it sounds like it's really expanding to offer new opportunities and services in a variety of realms beyond its immediate core mission is just really cool. And it's a great organization. So we're just very happy to have you here and to hear about those opportunities. So this is your chance, attendees, to think of questions you might have, anything you'd like to be clarified, any particular opportunities that you'd like to know more about. No question is too general. No question is too specific. And if it is, then we'll tell you to take it offline and talk with someone one-on-one. But doesn't hurt to ask the question anyway, because you just might get an answer to it. So think of the questions that you might have as a result of the comments and the opportunities that have been talked about so far. But while you're thinking and you put your thinking caps on, I'll ask a question that always comes to mind from my experience, and we've been asking in the other sessions, which is, let's say I go back to my 15-year-old self. I know I want a job. I can think of things to get into, but I don't know if I'd be qualified. I don't even know necessarily what to look for. I might have some sense of what I enjoy or what I'm good at, but I don't know if I'd be the right fit or if I have enough experience for the jobs that are out there. So what advice might you have for first-time job seekers who are not sure if they have the right skills? Like, how could I find out if I might have the right skills or personality or traits that might make me a really good candidate for a job, even though I've never worked a job before? How would what do those skills or traits or qualities look like that are really desirable to employers that might be a good indicator for me to say, oh, I have that, I should apply for this? So I'll open up to any of you to talk about that part as I unmute everyone again. So, whoever wants to take it first.
So as I've said in the previous panels, it's very personality driven. We know that this may very well be your first job. We don't expect you to have years and years of experience. We don't expect you to have been the CEO of your own company by age 15. So really, focus on your soft skills, first of all. Like, I'm punctual, I'm a team player, I have a good intuition, I'm good at listening to people, at being empathetic. Think about, the skills that you have in everyday life. Like, most of you have tech skills with your phones and video editing beyond what I can definitely do as a professional. So think of those, think about the languages you may speak at home. That's an asset to you. And just start from there. And, every little thing can count as experience. Your extracurriculars, the work you do in your community, work you do as a volunteer, all of that helps to tell your story of who you are and, the fact that you can be responsible in a job.
Excellent advice, Lynette. What about you, Bob? What about Gabrielle? Do you have any insights on that? How, what traits or skills that I might have that might help me indicate what jobs I am qualified for if I've never had one before?
I definitely agree with what Ms. Lynette was saying. You'll be surprised how much value is in something as simple as being the captain of your lacrosse team, or volunteering at your local youth center on Saturdays once a week for like a year. Like that type of experience, that type of interaction has a lot of value on the resume. I gave a story earlier when I was younger. I didn't have my first job until I was roughly 20, 21 years old. And my first resume, it didn't even have work experience sections. It just said leadership because I didn't have any work experience. But I was very active in high school. I was on the debate team. I played sports in high school and college. I was the president of my fraternity in college. So I used that to show to employers the level of responsibility and trustworthiness, which are qualities that most employers are looking for in these positions. So that would be the step. That's where I would start. First, of course, visiting your local library and the workshops they may have. I'm pretty sure Ms. Lynette can speak to on resume building and those resources to get started. And then looking at the experience that you have. What do you like to do? Are you a strong student? So let's highlight that on your resume because that shows responsibility. That shows integrity. So there are different ways that you can use what you have that's not necessarily work experience to still get the same message across.
Excellent points, Bob. Thank you for that. Gabrielle, any insights on your end, especially since it sounds like you not only do you work with a lot of teens who are getting out of high school and going on to college, but also it seems like you also might hire a lot of young people in college. And so I wonder if you have any insights on that.
Yeah, I do review a lot of resumes. I think what would help is, the advice that I got when I first generated my own resume is it's not really what you do, it's how you explain it. So I definitely recommend, you're a teenager starting out, definitely getting involved in something other than school. So any extracurricular activities, internships, if your school's offering like a job program, things like that. So I definitely recommend taking on an extracurricular activity. Um, or if you are lucky enough to even like side hustles like babysitting, tutoring, cleaning houses or something like that, or even if you have brothers and sisters and you have to babysit them, like you could put that on a resume, right? So if you have to babysit your siblings, I think you write it in a certain way, like babysitter, and how long you've been doing that, and then the different tasks that you do, like changing diapers or feeding my siblings. I have to uh, call parents for emergencies. So it's even something like that. If you say that you're a babysitter and the way that you break down the steps as to the things that you did, like that's something that will make your resume stand out. So that would pretty much be my advice is take on an extracurricular activity and stick with it. Don't just do it for 2 months and then go. But I particularly in my resumes look for longevity. So people that stick things out for a year or more as opposed to 6 months, because that shows commitment. So definitely taking on extracurriculars, whether that's a job or even a school club, sports, things like that. And also you can put that on your resume and it's all about how you explain it, and you break it down by action steps and tasks, then that can definitely help your resume stand out.
That's a really interesting point, Gabrielle, and I think that's an interesting way to open up the conversation to a different dimension, which is what do you do? Because I think you bring up a really good point, because what does a 15 or 16-year-old know about what they want to do? They might try something for 3 months and they hate it. Is there a way, and I'll open this up to everybody, of course, is there a way in which you could either like don't put that on the resume, or you put it on the resume and you sort of reclaim it and say, yes, I did it for 3 months, but this is what I got out of it, and that's why I know I want to do this instead. You have any advice or insight in like trying to also learn and explore? And how does that get reflected on a resume or maybe during a job interview?
Well, if it's something like, and every person has their own opinion, but I guess with my opinion, like if you were doing it, like if you were in school while you were doing it and I saw something for 3 months, like, okay, I can say she was in school. If like a summer internship or something, or summer youth employment, because something like that, an employer might ask about it. Why is this job so short? And you would have to explain that it was summer internship, it was a summer job. And if you did take a lot from it and you present that in an interview, that can definitely help you as well. So if you have the short-term activity, that's fine, but make sure you have other things on your resume as well that can kind of carry the weight. But yeah, like even if you did a job for 3 months but you put like 7 or 8 bullets or something like that, that will definitely stand out. So so the more you can not like 12 or 13 bullets, but if you learned a lot from it and you can use it in a way to present yourself in a stronger way, that can help. And be honest if it's something short term. But something like a summer internship or a summer job is something that's understandable, as opposed to like I resigned. So like something like an internship makes sense. Like, oh, okay, she was doing it for school. So so I would definitely put it on there. And if you can maybe add a few more bullets to it and be prepared to explain it, but also add other things to the resume as well that can carry that weight, that would be my advice.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Bob, Lynette, anything you want to add to that part of the resume strategy, as you will?
Well, I agree with the Ms. Gabrielle. The one thing I'll also add is in terms of being flexible and intentional. For instance, if you are applying to be a tech designer and you have a period where you worked as a youth counselor at the YMCA for 3 months, that's not necessarily relevant for that particular job. So when I get the flexible part of it and being open-minded with being able to try different things, and so this way, when you are doing your resumes, applying for positions, you can tailor your resume to speak to that particular position and what those duties entail. And also, let's say if, of course, you 17, 18 years old, we're not going to expect you to have 3-4 years of experience of a particular field because you were still in school. So that makes sense. So one thing Ms. Gabrielle did point out, which is a great point, make sure that's not the only thing on your resume then. As I mentioned, my resume earlier was all leadership things that I did. I guess you can call work experience. I did have a work study job in college where I was doing laundry for the track team. That wasn't at the top of my resume. Me being the president, me being on the debate team, me running organizations, that was the leadership part that I put at the top. And then I had my work experience, somewhere at the bottom. But the point is that wasn't the mainstay of my resume. And because I had so much experience in supervising and leading in other areas, that helped balance out my resume. Because if you're just looking for one particular thing, it does help to see that you are not just all your eggs are in one basket, that you can do other things other than what it is that you're applying for. And you can show that you can still do what you're applying for through different ways from what your experience comes from. I'm sorry. I hope that made sense. Again, it's almost 7.
No, it made sense. It made sense. Or to all of us at this point, having done this for almost 3 hours, it makes sense to us now. I'm not going to vouch for what it would make sense at 9 a.m. with a cup of coffee, but but I think it made sense. Lynette, anything you want to add on that resume front? Since you work on those programs for the library.
Well, I think it's important to look at what you've done, think of what the transferable skills are. That's what I think Bob was trying to allude to, is that, no experience needs to be necessarily wasted. If you worked in retail, but you want to work in a high-level marketing job, folding clothing isn't necessarily what's going to get you there, but learning how to dress a mannequin in a certain way to respond to a trend is a skill that will transfer more easily. And in terms of leaving things off your resume, you don't necessarily have to. I would say if you tried volunteering somewhere and then after a week or two, you hated it, there's nothing wrong with saying, this isn't for me, I'm going to leave. Maybe that I wouldn't put on a resume just because you made the choice to get out of it quite quickly. But even if it's a temporary job, even if it's something that was cut short a little early, if there's transferable skills there, then absolutely limit it to 1 or 2 bullet points, but make it be the most important skills that will carry you forward.
Oh, that's great, great advice. I hope our attendees are taking careful note and trying to understand what that means, because they may not get it yet, but I think one day they will, because I understand everything you are all saying, because it's something that I've learned after many years of my professional career. I just kind of wish I understood it better when I was like 18. But on that note, so when I was 18, we only could do paper resumes. And we had to worry about cramming everything into like a single page and, like jiggering the margins and like the font sizes and the line spacing, because we think we were like trying to like cram everything in, and we were winning more if we got more in and made it look like it was still on one page. How important are digital resumes? Like when you're putting this together, like LinkedIn, or I obviously, because Gabrielle, a step ahead, uses Indeed. So how important is the digital resume? And are there any tips about effectiveness, especially if you've been looking at them digitally, if you're not looking at a PDF or a sheet of paper version of a resume, are there any tips on the digital versions that you're reviewing or that you're encountering that you would like to highlight that might be useful?
I guess I will say, I guess I don't really like LinkedIn personally, so I stopped using it for myself. But in terms of Indeed, Indeed has like a resume template. There's 2 ways you can submit a resume. You can use your own resume that you crafted, and then Indeed has a template that you just kind of fill in the boxes and click certain options. I mean, either one is fine. You just be mindful. I mean, of course, I would prefer the handcrafted resume, but if you want to use the template, that's fine. You just have to be mindful about the templates because they tend to be very generic, and like with the handcrafted resume, you can pick and choose your jobs. You can organize it in categories like um, relevant experience and other experience, as opposed to a template. They just kind of throw it in together, and it's based on chronological order. So the templates tend to be generic. So if you want to use the templates, that's fine, but just keep that in the back of your mind that it tends to be generic, as opposed to unique. So that would just be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's some really great advice, Gabrielle. And going off of that, the resume is a living document. You don't just make a resume once and then you're done. So you want it to be in a format, particularly a digital format, that can change as you get new experience and you start to rearrange things. Yeah, so it's definitely in your best interest to find a format and a house for it. It could be a Google Doc, it could be a website, but you want to choose a place where you can access it easily and make changes easily. throughout your career. And, you know, I feel like even a paper resume is a digital resume nowadays because everything it's, and even if you upload a resume to the applicant tracking software, you usually have to retype all the information in a second time. And one of the things that I tell people in my resume help sessions is that look at the position that you're applying for, look at the specific terminology they use. They may use certain buzzwords or just certain names, maybe of software, maybe of a teaching practice that they use in their philosophy, and see where that overlaps with your experience and your skills, and try to use the same words that they use, because recruiters, if they're typing in the same terminology, it will bring your resume up to the top of the pile because you have the words, the exact words that they're looking for. So that's what I would recommend.
It's a very good strategy. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say, I think Ms. Lynette, Ms. Gabrielle literally touched on everything in terms of resume and digital and being unique, which I think is also very important, which can be lost if you're doing a generic resume. First piece of advice I would have is for those who are still in high school is to just get started with building a resume. So relative experience or anything that you can consider leadership experience or volunteer experience, start jotting that down so you can start formatting that into a resume. As Ms. Lynette said, it is a living document. So it's always updating based on what you're doing. Another thing I would like to add is that for me, interviewing people, during the interview process, if it's in person, I prefer to have a paper document. It's more so a reference point, simply because I get a ton of emails a day. So necessarily going back to my computer to figure out where your resume is out of the 150, not to mention if it is a generic resume, I'm going to even forget that you sent it to me. So I'm probably going to ask you to send it to me again. But we're doing an in-person interview. Always bring a paper copy, period. Always bring a paper copy, more than one. Because you never know how many people will be interviewing in that room, and if you did send it before, whether or not they had the time to actually print it off and bring it to that meeting. But you always want to be prepared. So that's my last 2 cents to that particular question.
I think that was a very important one, and I think that kind of segues us into an interesting topic. If if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask our panelists, feel free to put it in the chat or the Q&A. And we'll ask. We have about 5-ish minutes left before the conclusion of the session, but we kind of touched upon it in our last session about the interview process, we were talking about how we're in this pandemic phase, and now we might be getting used to a virtual job hunting experience versus the in-person that I think, from the beginning of time, everyone was used to. So I wanted to just see if anyone had any helpful tips. And certainly now that we have Gabrielle in this particular session, I'd love to hear your insight and advice on this. What should our first-time job seekers or internship seekers or whoever is going through maybe an academic program interview, or any tips, do's and don'ts related to the virtual interview process that you'd like to share that might be helpful?
Virtual as opposed to in person, you mean?
Yeah, because like Zoom, like the Zoom version of the interview, or the WebEx version versus showing up and having like if I could have a paper copy of my resume printed right now, but then I'd have to put it in front of the screen. It'd be a little awkward altogether. But so yeah, that part of it that might be different now for a lot of us because we're not doing in-person interviews, and maybe we won't go back to it.
Well,
go ahead.
I'll just start off with the tip I gave at the last session, and I'm doing a very poor job of it right now. Look at the camera as opposed to the screen, because eye contact is very important. It's not something you'd think about in person because you can just look at the person, but with technology, it changes the game a little bit.
Absolutely, for sure. Bob, you got anything?
Of course. Your technology can be the thing that keep you from getting a position or a job if you don't do due diligence to ensure that you have a great connection, that your microphone works, that your camera works, that there's nothing going on in the background near you, what you're wearing. If you are going to wear something that has stripes on it, understand that cameras tend to pick that up a little different, and that could be distracting. So understanding and practicing and seeing what you look like on camera, setting up that stage prior to, and then to Ms. Lynette's point, also your body language. As I mentioned earlier, it's nothing but your face in the in the screen. So facial expressions are going to say a lot. The way that you're sitting, if you look off the screen, it's going to look like you're on your phone. It's going to look like you're doing something else, not paying attention. So ensuring that all of those things are addressed and can be done through practice, you would definitely be setting yourself up. But I will say it is a very, very different experience doing interviews virtual. And I will also like to add that may be the way, at least for the initial screening interview process, that most organizations will be moving towards, where you would do something virtual because it's more efficient and it's convenient for busy hiring managers who are on the go most of the time. It's easier to just do a 10-minute virtual screening than it is to invite you into the office and then have an in-person interview. So the initial interview may be virtual. So those are skills you definitely want to prep for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think because I'm kind of getting used to the virtual interview format. So in some ways, I don't exactly have it all down. But in the advice that you heard so far is wonderful. You definitely want to make sure the technology is working. You have a strong Wi-Fi. Um, you want to be in a quiet space, like like you don't want like dogs barking in the background or something. So it's definitely the quiet, the quieter the space, the better. um I mean, try not to be multitasking at the same time. um so I'm like, don't be cooking while doing the interview. Like, just, it's like one thing at a time. um Definitely, I would say have the camera on. I know there's times I've been lenient with that, but strongly preferred if you have the camera on as opposed to off. Um, I think that's pretty much it. Just treat it like a regular interview. Be on time. Have a neat appearance, professional look, and try not to be doing too much at the same time. And just focus on the one thing, which is the interview.
No, I think I would be very impressed to see someone have a successful interview while they were in the middle of cooking virtually. That might tell you a lot about the candidate right there. They do say sometimes multitasking is a requirement for some jobs, so that might be like the Olympics of multitasking. We're very close to qualifying for it. So we're about a minute out. I want to just make sure that there are. I don't think we have any additional questions from our audience. Since this is our final session for tonight, and I'm so grateful to all of you for the great opportunities that you're providing, the great services you're providing to the young people of our district and to our participants here in the conference. Any parting words? Any last advice about anything you want to share before we wrap up? Of course, I have to unmute everybody to do that. Let me go ahead and do that.
I guess my advice, put something down, particularly on the resume. Like, what I don't particularly like is, and I tend to see it on the resume templates as opposed to the handcrafted one. Like, they'll just put the title and the job and no description. So that is a pet peeve of mine. So I Like I understand it if you're younger, but I mean, if you're older, then I get more annoyed. So, so put something down, put something in the description, whether it's in bullets or you write it in a narrative form. Don't leave anything blank. So describe the job that you're doing, and don't assume the person reading it knows what you're talking about. Like if it's again, it's probably for older people, but if you put teacher, don't just leave it blank and assume, well, you know what a teacher does, like no. So never assume, always spell it out, even if it's completely obvious, and just write it down, put something down. That would be my advice.
Thank you very much, Gabrielle. Bob, Annette, any
I would just
parting?
say, go into it with a good attitude and enthusiasm. It can be rough sometimes. It may take a couple tries to find something that you like, but always go in optimistically. You want to work there. You like what you do, you like what you did, and just, go in with a good attitude and tell your story.
Thank you, Annette. That's great advice. It really is. Bob, you got anything you would like to share?
Of course, for the those who may be hip hop fans in the audience, Kendrick Lamar's album "To Pimp a Butterfly," I think is one of the best analogies for entering the workforce. The idea of using your experience and finding value in the things that you do. So, for instance, I did mention that our population is primarily those who have been impacted by mass incarceration. There are a myriad of opportunities and scholarships and internships that cater specifically to that population. And that's just simply understanding how to use your experience to your benefit. Now, what it looks like on a resume, as I mentioned earlier, that's the leadership experience. What type of extracurricular activities did you do? So a lot of the things that you need, those skills that you have that are required for the job that you want, you already have. And learning how to use those, and then to Miss Gabrielle's point earlier, how you word those. So, for instance, instead of I fed while babysitting, I fed the kids at 8 o'clock. I ensured that they had nurturing meals according to CDC's pyramid for balanced meals. But being creative in how you word that to it being a responsibility as it is, but learning how to use your experience and the skills that you have, and quite frankly, pimping them to your benefit, to get the job that you're looking for, to get the opportunities that you're looking for.
Well, I think everyone is going to walk away with a lot of insight, and I hope that you all who are been watching the last few sessions can take it and use it. Feel free to reach out to any of our panelists. They provided their contact information. Their organizations are on the CB14 Youth Conference website, so you can follow up with any of our panelists throughout the sessions, and other panelists that were not part of this particular room but have been in the others, and hopefully you could find your path, and you get the experience and the insight to find where you'll really thrive and succeed in all the areas that you want to. And it's hard. I've done it myself, so I can vouch for it, but it always works out. Just have faith in yourself. Follow all the great advice of these wonderful people. And even if you don't know how to apply it, maybe in 5 years it'll click. Oh, I heard that at the youth conference, and now I get what they mean. That's how it usually works. So never give up. Never lose faith in that. So
Can I just add one more thing?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, another thing that I recommend is there are sample resumes on the internet. So if you need help with how to word something, or even like babysitting, for example, you could just look up, sample resume for babysitter. Just Google it and you'll see sample resumes that are out there, and you can model after that. So if you like the way that they break it down, the type of action words that they use, the type of different tasks, you can model after that as well. So I also recommend Googling resume samples based on the type of job that you did, and you can model based off of those samples.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that tip, Gabrielle. And if you do need any help, the Brooklyn Public Library Midwood branch, Lynette, our new friend tonight, will also be willing to help you. And I think as well, Children of Promise will do that. So you have options if you need any advice and hands-on help with any of that. So again, thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm going to unmute you, Sean, since you're here. Just if you want to say any parting words.
Oh, well, other than thanks, no, I really appreciate the knowledge that you brought to us today, the time you spent with us today, and the service you provide to the youth members of our community. Keep up the good work. And of course, we're here to support you back. So keep in touch in how we can do that. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jonathan, for being, just a great example of a board member. We're trying to work with young community members who want to serve their community, and you're such a great example of that, having started out as a youth volunteer at the community board and then leading this youth services committee to such great feats, and always providing a great program every year. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Sean, and thank you for your leadership and creativity and innovation to help bring it to new heights, especially in the middle of a pandemic, and for making that possible with Anya and the rest of the board and the community at large to just bring everyone together year in, year out to keep this program going. So it's a team effort. It's all in the family.
Great people, both on the board and in the community. So thank you.
Exactly. So thank you, everyone. I believe, are we keeping the rooms open, or how, Sean? And now I've muted you, so I don't know if I may have to unmute you now.
You are welcome to stay in this room if you have more to discuss, but I know that you've been here a while and we don't want to misuse your time. And given that we just had this as a buffer in case there was just onslaught of questions, but you're certainly free to roam and get back to other matters at hand that you have in your office and your homes.
Terrific. All right. Well, thank you all again. Very grateful for all of you being here tonight. I will gladly give you my blessing to move on with your evening. And thank you again for being so generous with your time and energy. So, all right, everybody. Have a good one. All right, bye.